Grady White says there is no better hull in the world. Is that true? I don't know. Let's go find out. Fantastic. Okay, so this is the exclusive version 2, SeeV2 hull by Grady White. So we're going to put this hull to the test. I'm just cruising at 4,300 revs. Got a speed of 27 knots. We're in the flat water right now. A little bit windy today. So we do have 25 gusting to 30 knots westerly. So I'm just going to give a wide open throttle now, and then I'm going to slow down because my drone's got no chance of keeping up when we're offshore there. Got a couple of windsurfers there, got some lasers there. Let's give it some. So I've got no trim on the trim tab. I'm just doing engine trim at the moment. Engine revs at 4,700, total fuel flow of 134. Windsurfers foiling, going really quickly in front of me. So I'm actually just going to belt through and hopefully he won't jibe. 5,200 revs, speed of 35 knots. Very choppy water now, guys, even choppier than our drone shoot before. So this is going to be a real test. You're watching Dan's Boat Life, by the way. My name's Dan Jones and we are on the Grady White Freedom 325. Wow, this is something. Now, wide open throttle, 5,300, 5,500, 38 knots and climbing. Not ideal conditions, but we are going downwind. 39 knots, a little bit of engine trim up. I see 39 and a half knots and 40 knots. 40 knot with a twin Yamaha 300s in not ideal conditions. So let's just wind that back a little bit. Still going downwind, just trimming with the motors. We're going to have a southerly swell when we get offshore today. It was much bigger yesterday. I was hoping to have some real big stuff, but it's just going to be relatively moderate. I see some waves breaking on the point now, and I see whale watching boats, so we are going to need to pay attention to who is out there. I'm driving with twin lever right now, so you might see me take my hands off the lever as I go through waves. If you need to be sort of careful bouncing through waves, just drive it in single lever. That's the answer. So coming in at 31 knots, I'm going to slow my speed down because I see a Parks and Wildlife boat. I'm going to go around him. He could be indicating whales, I'm not too sure, so we'll go nice and wide of him. Through the ferry chop. Fantastic. This is confused water. I've got boat wash coming from multiple directions. I'm now entering the swell zone. I'm doing that at 28 knots. And I've got waves across my bow. I still haven't really played with the trim tabs, just the engine. Really beautiful. So we've got 4.2 ton light ship on this hull. We got 20 degrees of dead rise at the transom, and if you add the 1,090 litres, we've only used about 60 litres so far today, so we have 1,000 plus on board, and the weight of the twin Yami 300s, she's going to be pushing 6 tonne a boat. And I'll tell you my first observation going into the southerly swells now, I'm benefiting from that 6 tonne. It really is quite comfortable. I will sit down in a second, but this is the sort of hull that I can feel right now I would trust to do a long trip in rough water. I've got complete protection. There isn't any wind. It's the middle of winter. It's the absolute middle of winter. It's cold out there, but I'm fine. Going in through a couple more waves into it, and now I'm going to change direction. I'm just going to slow my speed down just to give you some of the other fuel flows. 28 knots, 4,000 revs, going down to 27 knots. and that's giving me 81 litres total fuel flow. So let's just take that swell on the beam. Run with that, 26.7 knots, and let's just head offshore a little bit. We do need to watch out for whales. It is migrating season, but I am sticking in relatively close, and I see all the whale watching boats further offshore, which tells me they've probably spotted them further out, so there isn't any inshore today, and we have checked the whale watching app this morning. Okay, super comfortable. The spray is being sent out to the sides on both points of the swell. So now let's run down. I'm not going to go super crazy fast because my drone's got no chance. Wow, how smooth's that? Just feel that, guys. I know you can't, but I can. That is really incredible. I'm going through, I've got swell going this way, but the wind's chopping it up that way, and the motion through those conditions is very good at a speed of 23 knots, which I'm going to maintain now. So now going into that choppy wind, but with the swell behind me, why don't we play with the tabs? So I've got no tab right now, and that's luxury. I could actually sit down. I like having the split bolster, and I could do this for hours. Like, this actually is totally doable if you are transiting and going places. But let's drop that nose and just see how much more cutting action we can expose into the waves. So I've just done half tab there, and that is a noticeable benefit into some of the rough stuff. Let's go 2 tabs. The engines are going to be working harder, and you do once again see a benefit. But I am making another observation here. The wash is still really going out to the side. The only spray, we are getting spray up over the windscreen, which we're completely protected from, is being picked up by the wind. You know, if it wasn't a windy day, you're just going to be seeing that spray heading straight out to the side. And next observation, this seat back here remains dry. So I've just raised those tabs, and I'm just going to keep running at a moderate speed into this chop. And I'm telling you right now, it is considerably more choppy and windier than our drone shoot that was not even an hour ago. We've got white caps all around, so it's 25 knots consistent, and the gusts coming off those hills were over 30. We had a lot of downdrafts flying the drone. I was struggling to keep the thing airborne actually, because I fly completely manual. So if it looks like you're going to hit the water, that means you're going to hit the water. Let's give this a little bit more power. Yeah. So when you think, you know, it's a big claim by Grady, that it's the best hull bar none. And I think you really need to define that as to who are we comparing it with, because you know, quite a lot of you have driven a lot of boats, as have I. You know, and there's many different hull forms. There's trimarans, race yachts, big boats and surface drives, you know, you name it, and they all give you different benefits. But from what I am experiencing right now, this thing's amazing. Yeah, this thing's so solid. It really does love the rough stuff. Hopefully this camera is putting this into perspective for you, because this is a day when your average sports cruiser or your average day boat is going to choose not to go boating. And right now, from what I feel on this hull, I would just think nothing of it. Yeah, it's still not a problem. Middle of winter, no worries. So we're going to get in to the protected water in a second, and I'm going to wind it up and do a few turns and just see how she performs in the flat water before we wrap this up. But yeah, big claims are fairly accurate so far. Not a bad job. I do like this steering wheel. Having the rubber insert into the stainless makes me, it gives you a lot of control, because if you are that active person like I think you are, who's going to be interested in this boat, obviously the fishermen, you are there, but I'm not the fisherman, so I'm talking to the other people, the surfers, the stand-up paddleboarders, the kayakers, etc. You know, if you've got wet hands, you're still going to have really, really good control of this wheel. So it's a no-nonsense, practical design. My visibility is just absolutely epic. The spray was not coming over the bow except for when we were in the wind, and the wind was picking it up and putting a little bit of salt on the windscreen. The windscreen is huge. I'm standing, look, I can't actually touch, I've got to reach my fingers out to touch the roof there. So this thing would be suitable for really tall people and wide people as well. Wide in all directions, this boat's going to be suitable. I do like having the throttle just here and the wheel relative to this seat just off to one side. It's quite natural, it feels good. So I'm just going to completely retract those tabs, they're gone, and let's just see if we don't annoy anyone. And here in the flatter water, nothing's flat today, let's just hook it through a turn. Drives down, more speed. So, one observation, I'm not losing visibility to port. Often when you have roofs like this, you will lose that visibility as the boat heels over. You know, we've got well over 3 meters of beam on this boat, but the heel angle, oh wow, look at that. Even as I tighten up that turn, that angle is consistent. So that just tells me this is a very safe design for people who are perhaps less mobile or just not thinking ahead of themselves and didn't realize they needed to duck down and look. Let's change that direction of travel just whilst we're here, and then we'll go in somewhere smooth. Fantastic. 5,200 revs. Feel the hull gripping through that turn. The back is not kicking out, it's actually just powering through the turn. Gonna go through the waves there. The other thing I can sense right now, some of these boats, when I hook them through turns like this, you want to slide down the seat. I can feel my center of gravity planting into the floor. It's actually quite fun. It's awesome. But once again, that sensation through design says to me safety. You can just go and do what we did right now and be dry, be safe, be protected. You could go and do that from what I just felt on this hull. You could go and do that in 5 meter seas. Yeah, don't go and do that, but I'm saying if you got caught out in 5 meter seas, I feel like you're gonna get home. And that's kind of what you want in a boat like this. So that's really, really interesting. Let's go over and drop the anchor, and I'm gonna wrap this video up for you, but that's a serious contender for best hull. It really is. So thanks for joining me on that test drive, guys. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. I'd love to have you. And if you enjoy having me, I'd love to have you on the channel more too. I will be uploading some more exclusive content just for my Patreons. If you want to chat to me, I'm merging all the conversations over to the Patreon account. Love to see you there. Wrap up. Really hard. How do I say this? There are a lot of hulls out there. As I said before, you could be sailing an offshore sailing trimaran, you could be in a race yacht or a 50 to 60 foot powerboat that just, belts along. They're all great and all fun for their own unique purposes. But if we're defining this category, if we're defining this size, this purpose, and this weight, I actually agree with Grady. This thing's awesome. I've tested a lot of American boats in this category and a lot of European boats with cutting bows. They all have their own unique advantages, but this thing is just really amazing. There's a reason why blokes trust Toyotas to head into the outback. I would put that same level of trust taking a Grady offshore. That's how I'm going to say it. So yeah, that's it, guys. If you want to see a comparative American offshore weapon, click on the link coming up on your screen right now. Cheers, guys.